Okay, imagine this. You wake up one morning and the world feels different, like it's right on the edge. Today, we're going to piece together a single incredibly chaotic day from the near future, March 5th, 2026, just by looking at the news headlines. And you're about to see how all the threads are connected and how quickly things can start to unravel.
So here's the big question, right? How can just 24 hours, one single day's worth of news, show us a world basically shifting on its axis? Well, let's find out. We're going to follow the breadcrumbs of conflict, politics, and money that all came to a head on this one pivotal day.
Let's just start with a number, 800. That's it, just 800. When we talk about global events, numbers like this can start to feel a little abstract, almost like a statistic in a textbook. But every single digit there, that's a story. And on this particular day, the story it tells is absolutely devastating.
Because this is what that number means. It's the human cost, the death toll from combined US and Israeli strikes after only 5 days of a new war. And that number, that price, it's the reason for everything else we're about to see. It's the anchor for all the chaos.
And that brings us right to the epicenter, the flashpoint, a direct, hot war between the United States and Iran. This isn't a distant threat anymore. It's happening, and it's the engine driving almost everything else we're going to unpack from this day.
So, on day 5 of this thing, things escalate, big time. The US Navy sinks an Iranian warship out in the Indian Ocean. This isn't some proxy conflict fought through allies anymore. No, this is a direct, kinetic hit. The two nations are fighting, for real.
But a fire like this, it never stays in one place. That initial flashpoint is now setting the entire region ablaze. And it's starting to pull all the neighbors into the flames, whether they like it or not.
And Iran's retaliation comes, and it comes fast. They don't just hit back at US assets. They unleash this huge wave of missiles and drones against their neighbors, the UAE, Bahrain, you name it. And while a lot were shot down, some got through. We're talking injuries in Abu Dhabi, a refinery on fire in Bahrain. The Gulf states are officially in it now.
And then, just when you think the board is set, another front opens up. President Trump comes out and makes this public promise to support Kurdish forces, hinting at a potential ground war against Iran. That phrase, extensive air cover, that is a massive, massive commitment that could blow the doors wide open on this thing.
At the exact same time, another long-simmering conflict just boils over. Israel ramps up its campaign in Lebanon, and suddenly there are urgent evacuation orders for parts of southern Beirut. It's like all the other tensions in the region are just exploding under the pressure of this main event.
But amidst all this fighting, the world of diplomacy is having this bizarre split personality moment. On one side, you've got this rare piece of good news. Russia and Ukraine actually manage a huge prisoner swap, 400 people. But on the other side, total collapse. Ecuador just boots out Cuba's ambassador and all their staff.
And now you can see the ripples hitting Europe. Countries like Spain, Italy, and the Netherlands, they don't want to get into the fight directly, but they're moving to protect their own interests. They start sending warships to the eastern Mediterranean, basically to form a shield around British bases in Cyprus from any potential Iranian threats. Everyone's getting dragged in.
Okay, so we've seen the military side, the diplomatic side. Now, let's follow the money. Because a shooting war in the Middle East, the world's gas station, well, that was always going to send shockwaves to the global economy. And boy, did they hit fast.
The first tremor hits the world's factory floor, China. For the very first time, Beijing sets its annual growth target below 5%. That is a huge deal. It's a flashing red light signaling major economic trouble. And that's before this new global crisis really kicks in. But here's the crazy part. Even as China's economy is slowing down, its military spending is going way up. This number, $280 billion, that's their new defense budget. That's a 7% increase. Slower growth, bigger military. Yeah, that's a combination that has the rest of the world watching very, very closely. And you can literally see the panic in the markets. Oil prices are spiking, and South Korea has to hit the big red button. They activate this massive $68 billion emergency fund just to keep their economy stable. That's the kind of move you make when you're afraid the whole system is about to crash.
And as if a hot war wasn't enough, an economic war is kicking into high gear too.
Back in the US, nearly half the states are suing the administration to block a new global tariff. So while America's fighting a war overseas, it's also picking a huge trade fight at home, which, just adds more fuel to the global economic fire.
So let's bring it all back home to Washington, D.C., because when there's this much pressure from a global crisis, you start to see major political moves and deep, deep divisions back in the heart of the storm.
I mean, just look at how close this vote was. The Senate voted on whether to limit the president's power to keep the war going, and it failed, 53 to 47. That is a picture of a country split right down the middle on a life or death issue. And right in the middle of all this international chaos, a huge power play happens internally. The head of Homeland Security gets fired, then gets reassigned to this new special envoy role, and a new nominee is named. I mean, shaking up your national security team during a war? That is a bold and really surprising move. And this is just a wild reminder that the rest of the world doesn't just stop for a war. Other huge political dramas are still playing out. A House committee goes ahead and subpoenas the Attorney General. Why? To testify about the Jeffrey Epstein files. Yeah, that's still happening. And while the world's attention is glued to the conflict overseas, reports start to surface about a major policy shift at home. Word gets out that ICE is apparently cutting corners on training for its new agents, all to speed up a planned campaign of mass deportations. So, we've just jumped through all these different headlines, from war zones to stock markets to the halls of Congress. After all that, what's the big picture? What does this single day actually tell us? It shows us a world being squeezed by four incredible pressures all at once. You've got a regional war that's threatening to go global. You have an economy that's teetering on the brink. Old alliances are being tested while new battle lines are drawn. And back home, political power is being tightened in the middle of all the chaos. Look, we just walked through a single 24-hour news cycle. But when you lay all the pieces out like this, from a day like March 5th, 2026, you really have to stop and ask yourself, are we just watching one bad day of news, or are we watching day one of a completely different world?